Hey everybody, good morning. So I am just doing a little bit of physical therapy for my knees, and I've shown you these exercises before. Just a little isometric contraction around the quadricep muscle just to kind of help support the kneecap. And the reason I'm doing this today is because lately I have been trying to get back into running, and I haven't run any particular length of time since I was trying to think. I think it was 2016 or something like that. It was a while ago when I ran my last marathon with my brother, and that was down in Columbus. It was the Soldier Marathon at Fort Benning, and I will say that marathon was quite rough for me. It was not my first marathon. I don't know, it might be the last full marathon I do, and the recovery time after that marathon was just a lot. I had a lot of issues with my feet during that run. I had a lot of extra blisters that I didn't normally get, and I made some poor decisions not in my training, but in my choices for the day of that marathon. You know, it's always an experiment. You think you know what you need, and if your training is perfectly correct, you will have figured those things out. And that's great, but somehow I ended up with like blisters on top of blisters on my feet, and it was very, very painful. And of course, anytime you feel any kind of pain when you're running, it sort of sends messages up the kinetic chain and changes how you're moving. And so I was feeling that quite a bit throughout the rest of my body for a long, long time, and I just didn't feel like running after that. There was no desire really to come back to my base, and I was fine with letting that go, but I do miss running just for the moving meditation part where you can just kind of relax into a stride. I really miss that feeling, and I don't seem to be able to get that on a bike. For me, riding the bike for long distances is great. Exercise is a great challenge. I do like it, but it's not the same feeling because you have to really pay attention when you're on a bike, usually riding on the road, and so you can't really let your mind move away from that. And I find that to be just a little bit more exhausting than I'm looking for in a moving meditation. So I'm looking to get back into running. So my question is always, why do I want to do the thing that I think I want to do, right? So I've asked this question to you guys too. Why do you choose to do whatever exercise or eating plan or whatever that you want to do? What is the reason behind it? Sometimes it can be, well, I just heard that this is the best way to do it. And that's fine. But if it ends up not being the best way for you, that's okay to change that. So I want to give you a little bit of permission today to change how you move, how you eat, what you eat, you're eating, whatever it is that you're doing for health and wellness. Really think about the why of it. Like, does it serve you really? And if not, it's okay to try something else. A big place where this shows up for a lot of my clients is in what kind of supplements they take. So why are you taking 10,000 IUs of vitamin D a day? Maybe you had your blood tested and you need that. Maybe you just heard it was good. So if you don't know, you should have that checked out. Same thing with anti-inflammatories like turmeric, natural ones, right? So inflammation in the body is usually a good sign that something is is wrong. You want your body to have inflammation because the immune system is fired up and ready to go when it's necessary. You don't need inflammation all the time though. So everybody is in a different place and you really need to assess that. So quads are done, and I want to move on to another area of the body this morning that is always a problem for me, and that's the calves, right? This big muscle back here. And for me, this is a real problem area. I have knots all through my calves. And when I cycle, when I run, they get tighter and tighter and tighter. And to the point where sometimes my toes will fall asleep, which is not great. That's sort of moving into compression, right? And we don't really want that. So I want to show you one way to kind of work through the calves and then also into the shins. So we can roll out our shins and our calves on a foam roller, right? Where's my foam roller? I think I've shown this before too. Hold. Foam roller under the calves, pop up and roll, right? So you can focus it in on certain spots. This is great. It's also hard because I'm holding my body up off the floor, right? Same thing you can do with the front of your shins. And remember, we're looking to roll out the muscle, the front of the shin, not the bone, because that's really uncomfortable. Right, again, you're gonna hold yourself up, kind of a little plank. I like to cross one foot over the other so I can roll to one side and tuck it in this way, right, to really get in there. It feels great. I'm gonna do the other side too. But today I wanna show you a really deep tension release that you might not have seen before. Right, so we can kind of get started this way and put that away. Now, I'm gonna use, I'm gonna use a dowel. This is about a 2-inch diameter dowel. Just got it at the hardware store, okay? And it's a homemade little prop. And we are going to move into kind of a lifted kneeling position. So I need to be really high for this to work. I need to sit tall. So this is the kneeling position that we're going to come into, and eventually we're going to be taking this dowel behind the knees into the calves to sit back. This is as far as I can sit down, and we want to be seated in support. So right now I don't have anything under my hips, but I'm going to use my bolster behind me so that I can bring that dowel here. Now this is still too low. Like that bolster doesn't support my butt at all. I need to sit up higher on something, so I'm going to grab my block so that I can sit up. Right now, if you have access to it, if you have access to them, if you can stack 2-inch blocks or pillows, that's great, because as we hold that pressure is coming into the back of the calf. And I don't have this all the way hooked up behind the knee. It's back a little bit because I know where my knots are, right? So I'm just going to pause here and hold in. And I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to pretend that this is comfortable. It's not comfortable. It's not what we call a yummy stretch. Sometimes there's a little bit of pain there, but oh, there it is. So just kind of lets go. So we are working more than just the knots in the muscle. When we do exercises like this, or, foam roller even, we're actually getting to the fascia. The fascia covers our muscle. So if you don't release the fascial tension over the muscle, it doesn't really matter how much you stretch it, because it's like shrink wrap. Okay, so fascia is like shrink wrap around your muscle. And that is how my massage therapist, Lizzie Hearn, talks about it. Like, oh my God, if your muscles feel like they've been shrink wrapped. And yep, that's exactly what they feel like to me too. So when you feel that little release in the knots, you can come up a little and roll that bar back and then come back into seated posture. So now we move into another little different spot of the calf, and we can just hold and chat, right? You can tell all kinds of stories here. And then as you feel that tension release, we can roll it again. Now, I want to tell you right now that the first time you do something like this, if this is something that sounds like it might work for you, the first time you do it, first time I did it was really hard to relax. And so that's why we bring all these extra props. If you don't have a bolster, if you don't have yoga blocks, no big deal. There's other things you can use. I went to the hardware store where I got this, and originally had cut myself some 2-inch blocks of foam, like the insulation foam, and then just stacked, I think I used like 10 of them. So I was sitting really high, and then I could just release those 2-inch blocks one at a time and lower my body as those muscles release. So it was a little bit more comfortable. Okay. So from here, this feels good. So when it feels good, you roll back. Not that you're looking for pain, but you want to find those little knots, kind of relax in there. So I'm going to do this probably 1 or 2 more times, and then I want to show you how to counter it, because just like every kind of pose, every yoga pose, every stretch, every strengthening exercise, we do want to find balance. This month in my membership in Kinetic Grace Resilience, we are talking about brahmacharya, which is all about energetic balance and moderation. And it's something that I think we forget about when we're trying to push ourselves to some sort of goal, to find some kind of to reach some sort of fitness goal or health goal or something like that. It's just go, reach that goal, that dress size, that weight, whatever it is. And then what? Because when we ignore all of the balance issues, the then what becomes very difficult. Okay, so I'm going to roll back one more time. So I'm feeling like, oh, there's a little bit more there. And eventually, so practicing this, I don't do this more than every once in a while. When I start to really feel some of that tension coming into my calves, it makes a difference throughout the entire body. You have a layer of fascia that runs from right behind your toes, right here. It's the deep back line, I think it's called, back line of fascia. So it runs from behind your toes across the bottom of your feet, all the way up the back of your body, and curls up over the top of your head and finishes over your brow line. Okay, that's one piece of fascia, all connected in one train. Okay, so if you're feeling tension at the bottom of your feet, plantar fasciitis is a big issue for a lot of people. If you're feeling tension in your hamstrings all the time, if that's like where your problem areas are, or maybe across the back of your shoulders here, something like that, it could be related to that one spot, but it also could be some tension coming from other parts of your body. All right, so when you feel ready, when you can't take it anymore, one of those two, we're going to slide that out, come on over, and then we're going to counter it with the opposite side of the body. So I'm just going to take a blanket. This is an important part, so don't skip this part, guys. All right, so I'm going to take a blanket and I'm going to roll it up underneath here, and I'm going to, here, so you can see, like I'm just going to flex the toes. I'm just doing one leg at a time. So blanket's not going to be all that high. Flex the toes, and then we're just going to contract the quadricep and lift the heel a little, and then come back. And you can do this against the wall too. You can kind of push your foot into the wall. It's just a little hard to see if I do it that way. So on the video, and we just hold maybe for a count of 10 and release, maybe for a count of 10 and release. Doesn't have to be, don't get hung up on how long you do it. You just want to do it and then switch legs, get to the other side. Right, support there. Already I'm feeling my hamstrings feel better from my little jog yesterday and my deadlifts yesterday. So hamstrings were tight. They don't feel so tight now, and I wasn't really focused at all on stretching the hamstrings today. It was all about strengthening through the quadriceps and releasing the tension in the calves. So it's an interesting connection, and you may feel some other areas as well, right? So when you're feeling some evenness, I always go by how the body feels because we have differences left and right. So I want both sides of the body to feel the same. But once we have that, we can take that blanket out, kind of shake the legs out a little bit, and maybe reach up and hinge forward. A little forward fold. Oh my gosh. Can't even tell you how much better that feels. And then coming on up. Again, shake it out. So that's it. So couple different things today to help with those legs, the knees. Anytime you can balance that strength and flexibility through the front and the back of the legs is going to be good. Check it out. If you have any questions, drop me a comment or question, and let me know how that works for you. If you need extra clarification, let me know that too, because we can do a little bit more extensive video on those particular areas of the body as well. Thanks for joining me today. Now let's go work in, and I'll see you next time.